What's going on? Welcome to In the AM with MC. This is your boy MC. We have been out of commission for a little second here, but we are completely back, folks. We are completely back. This is episode 36 of In the AM with MC. You can find all In the AM with MC content at All Things COD, on YouTube. On that page, I'll have all these episodes in full. You can also start getting clips of In the AM with MC, and you can start getting full episodes of the Polaroid podcast. We have two full episodes of the podcast right now with Zach Geddes and James Lewis. And we have an episode coming up with Rodney Burford Jr. of Def U from Netflix and of Dahmer of the Jeffrey Dahmer show. So I'm super excited to get Rodney on there. Me and him are actually going to shoot that tomorrow, the 28th. But today, the 27th, we are back. It is episode 36. So let's get right into some WNBA stuff. Obviously, coming off of the WNBA All-Star break. Okay. I'm not really here for random backseat opinions about the rigor of the game itself, just having watched the Pro Bowl for a bunch of years in a row. But right before the All-Star break kind of happened, Paige Beckers and Kelsey Mitchell were both named Player of the Week in their respective conferences. The Fever are leading the Eastern Conference, and the West is a gauntlet. You have the Aces, you have the Valkyrie, you have the Wings. Uh, they're all at the top, kind of fighting for pole position. And the Lynx were 20-6, I believe, or 21-6, just absolutely phenomenal right now. Olivia Miles is doing special stuff. Basketball is so fun when you just enjoy it for what it is, and you don't have random narratives just kind of being floated each way. And when you're basically, it's the most fun when you're informed. Someone like Olivia Miles, as somebody that's been watching basketball for years, she is a big draw. She's been good. She's been great at Notre Dame, at TCU, at Blair Academy. She's been great. So to watch her be great on the links is beautiful. I think that she has 100% played herself into first team all WNBA contention and possibly MVP contention as well. I think that there is still a slight lead with players in the echelon of Paige Beckers or Kelsey Mitchell or Asia Wilson. I think all three of them have a slight edge over Miles. And you might ask why Mitchell over Clark. Same reason why last year. I mean, she's durable. Last year she was first team all W because she was durable. She shot at a high percentage, and she's a high usage player that can play incredible defense as well. She's a winning player. I think that if Indiana goes all the way this year, if they end up playing in the big game, it'll be mostly because of the mismatch nightmares that Kelsey Mitchell creates, and also because of some efficiency from Clark. Like, she's a high usage player right now. I think what she's lacking most is efficiency. Just too many turnovers from her. There was a lot made about her defense at the beginning of the season. I think that was more of a team defensive thing. You got to think when you're playing on a park with like some randoms, a lot of buckets are just because this person doesn't know the tendencies of the person that they're playing defense with, and so they don't know when they're supposed to come over. And it goes farther than scheme. It's like tendency as well. Like there's a clip of Victor Wembanyama like holding up. I think it was Keldon Johnson. He like kind of held him up because he could see where the play was going. You know what I'm saying? And he floated to where he could help as well, in case Johnson got beat right there. But I'm glad Paige Beckers is finally starting to get some recognition that she's been deserved from the league. She's had an incredible season, averaging 21 and 6 assists with less than two turnovers a game. I think she's like 1.8, 1.7 turnovers per game, and high percentages all around. She's the alpha on that team. She is the engine that makes the Wings go. And it really goes to show like the Wings have a good team. I think that what's been most pleasing for me to see as a basketball fan, as a UConn fan, as fans of Becker's, Fudd, uh, Oriana's program for the last couple decades is the durability. I mean, Beckers and Fudd have both played pretty much all the games this season. They both missed a couple games basically because of maintenance. But these are two players who, at different points in time, suffered injuries that kept them out for an entirety of a season. And so for them to have the durability for the Wings to continue to be this good is really enticing. I still think they could get something if they trade Arike Ongumbawale. But I think that the deadline might have passed, or it might be close to passing. So maybe no trade there. But I think there's still some stuff to get. It's going to be hard to come out of the West. Again, I mentioned some of the teams that are up there. The Aces, people think they're gonna have some chemistry issues because of some stuff that just kind of came out dealing with Nalissa Smith and Jackie Young and some other major players. But this is why this is why Becky Hammon is who she is. You know, she has to manage these personalities. This is the same people that were on the championship team last year that whose personalities she managed. Despite the possibility that some of this stuff might come out at some point in time, this is why Becky Hammon is who Becky Hammon is. She's only now getting passed. She got passed up by Kayla McBride of the Lynx for 20th all time in scoring. She retired like 12th in scoring and fifth or seventh in assists. I mean, Becky Hammon is an all-time basketball player, and now she's proven to be an all-time coach. Those years she had under Popovich were definitely pivotal to the person that she is and like her coaching philosophy, I'm sure. But this is all Becky. I mean, this is all her. She's really an unsung brainiac of the sport of women's basketball and of basketball in general. And I think that she's not the only. I think that if other players got shots like she's getting, it would be the same. I think if Tarazi, if Lisa Leslie, if Tamika Catchings, if Cheryl Swoops, if some of these players got opportunities to coach teams, I think it will look very similar to this. You know, she just gets it. Becky Hammon just gets it. And so, as of right now, even halfway through the season, I still think the Aces are going to win it all. The Lynx look good as heck. Nafisa Kali played one game and she had 20 and 10 in like 25 minutes. McBride looks incredible. Courtney Williams looks incredible. Natasha Howard, Olivia Miles, like they look good. Do not get me wrong. But the Aces have shown that they know how to win when it matters most. They just have. And New York is a team that I like too. I think that in the playoffs, you know, they're going to have to play a different brand of basketball than they're playing now to be successful. But yeah, those two players were player of the week, kind of going into the break, coming out of the break. It's a race to the finish line. It's a race to the finish line, and you know, don't count out the Fever. Like I said, like when Aaliyah Boston is playing her brand of basketball, it's really impressive because she is really talented, and she creates mismatch issues because she's every bit as like tall as someone like Asia Wilson, but she can get up and down the floor and she can create issues for all types of different players at the 4 and 5 spot. And she can hit the three as well. She's shooting like 43% from downtown on a small sample size, shooting like two a game, three a game. But if you get one of those to fall, shoot it, you know, put stress on the defense. Skylar Diggins is 37, maybe 36, and she is struggling on the sky. She has been benched the last couple games before the break. She got a couple DNPs, and she joked about her being a lot to deal with if things aren't up to her standards. And she expects a lot, and she's open about expecting a lot. And this is an interesting thing to look at because I do think on one end, you cannot argue that Skylar Diggins is not doing what's called showing up the coach, showing up the organization, showing up the GM. I think she is showing up the Chicago Sky. But I also think the Chicago Sky for years now, and I've said this on the show, are not adequately preparing their players for war. You know, you got to go out there and you gotta have what the other people have. You know, this is I mean, Miracle's got that great speech where he's like, it just doesn't matter. They have their own masseuse, they have their own monsieur, like all of this stuff about how resources don't matter. And it's about the players. Yeah, that worked in Miracle on Ice. You know what I'm saying? But when you think about the day to day of playing in a high professional league, and the WNBA is a high professional league, and you don't have what the other players have, it makes it really hard to compete at your highest level. And Skylar Diggins is a player who has been in the spotlight for almost 2 decades now. Like she's really, well, you can't think of the WNBA and not think of Skylar Diggins if you're talking about players in the last 15 or so years. You know, she's not going to go down as an all-time player. She's probably headed for the Hall of Fame just on individual stats, but she's not going to go down as an all-time player for sure. She's definitely somebody that was pivotal to that boom in women's basketball and also like allowing women to be women, right? Like she was one of the players who was really known for like having her full glam on during all the games and stuff. Um, like there was a period of time where she was, you know, like basketball sweetheart. You know, this is like pre-influencer era where she's on the stage at the ESPYs and Drake is singing his heart out to her and he's wearing her jersey and everyone's like, wow, like she's so gorgeous, but she's so fierce. And now it's like she's this disgruntled vet, but in reality, like I said, like she knows what it takes to be efficient and no team should have to deal with the uncertainty that they deal with in Chicago pretty often, the malpractice that they deal with in Chicago pretty often. Yes, they did get some trades that worked out, you know, Rakia Jackson being one of them, but she's injured out for the season. Sydney Taylor is their best rookie and she was undrafted. So even though that's like positive, it does make you kind of rethink like, about drafting Hackett so high, or about just their scouting department in general, drafting Cardoso and Reese a couple picks apart last year or 2 years ago. I didn't really like that, right? Like I think Tyler Marsh, back to the Becky Hammond point, is understanding what it's like to play to be here without Becky. I don't think it's just, oh, he was an assistant and now he's a head guy and this is this and this and this, he's dealing with this. I think it's also leaving Becky. I think Becky Hammond as a head of the snake just makes things so much easier because she puts people in the best position to succeed, which is why it sucks that someone like Kennedy Carter couldn't make the most of that, because Becky Hammond, with these 3 or 4 rings that the Aces have gotten, has gotten some people rings that probably definitely would not have gotten them on other teams in other roles, with other coaches, with other organizations, and so on. But I think that the Sky right now are at an impasse. I think that they're pandering to Courtney Vandersloot a little bit too much. Uh, and I think that Marsh is probably going to be gone after this year. Just his record is abysmal. It's not all his fault, but unless I see, they see some incredible change in the second half of the season, I think Tyler Marsh is headed out the door. Lastly, in the WNBA, let's look at the Defensive Player of the Year and MVP outlook. So we have the Defensive Player of the Year. I think Asia Wilson has a case, like she always has a case. I think Natasha Howard has a good case. Jordan Canada has a good case. I really liked Angel Reese's case in the first half of the season. I think it's regressed a little bit, but in those first 5, 8 games, she was really erasing things around the basket. Just creating a lot of issues consistently for the Dream. If she plays to that version of herself in the playoffs, I think the Dream can make a run. But she's probably not in the contention for a Defensive Player of the Year. I really like AZ Fudd here. I don't understand who she's pissed off. I think that when it comes down to it, like there's reasons why Paige Beckers is not this does not get like the proper coverage. Like she's not covered in a way that is reflective of the kind of player she is for the organization or currently. And I think that Fudd is getting an extension of that. And it's frustrating because they're both really, really great players in their own right. And so the league should be able to cover them, and they should step up to, if they consider that a challenge, you get challenged at your job every day. If that's a challenge, then that's a challenge. Step up to it and cover them the right way. But I mean, AZ Fudd defensively is averaging 2.5 stocks a game. Has been averaging that all season. We've seen her lock up isolation. We've seen her in team defense, rotating, blocks, steals, leading fast breaks, creating 5-point swings. I think AZ Fudd is a player that if she continues in the second half of the season, I think it's hard to deny her a spot on the first team All W. And if not, maybe even a Defensive Player of the Year vote or a nod. What she's doing now, I expected Sanaya Rivers to do last year, more so because she's really, really scrappy defensively. I love Sanaya Rivers' play. She'll be on the Connecticut the new Houston Comet team, the Connecticut Sun. But MVP outlook, obviously, Asia Wilson is leading that. I mentioned Beckers, I mentioned Kelsey Mitchell, I mentioned Caitlin Clark, and Olivia Miles. I think those kind of round out the prospects. It's funny, like the Valkyrie are still, like, even though they're 1 year off expansion, they're still seeking like that star, and and it's funny because it could be anybody. Like Golden State has shown that they gravitate and support stars, i.e., Stephen Curry. They could have anybody. If Marina Mabrey got drafted to the Valkyrie instead of the Tempo, she would be the star. Like if someone goes over there and they put up 20 points a game, and they do it in a way that they could get behind, like they'll be the star. They just don't have a star yet. Like they're like a true expansion team full of scrappy players who are good, and some of them might be all W. Gabby Williams, Veronica Burton, Hayes, they might be all W, but they don't have a star yet. They don't have a bona fide superstar. So even though they're high up, they're 17-7 or whatever they are, I don't have anyone on their team to look at from an MVP perspective. Um, yeah. So that those races will be interesting to follow as the year kind of finishes. We're about halfway through the season for the WNBA. Now, I had mentioned this on my X accounts. It's at IntheAMwMC. Please give me a follow on there. Catch up with my live reactions to stuff. I'm on this episode. I'm not even going to talk about Braun going to Philadelphia, but I tweeted out a storm about that because that's just still wild to think that really happened. But I'm going to talk about the outlook for every NBA team going forward. I can't say I'll fix them, but let's talk about the outlook And we'll just kind of go reverse from standings last year. We'll start in the Western Conference. So the last place team in the West last year was, believe it or not, the Utah Jazz. They are slated to be great. I think that a lot of it boils down to health. A lot of it boils down to ego. Like a guy like Keontae George, I'm super excited about this year. I think he's going to be a 20-point, 8 assist guy. Maybe get 4 or 5 boards, couple steals. Like I think Keontae George, he's got a lot of like Steve Francis in his game. Like I like him. But the guy he is now, like if the guy he was when he got drafted from Baylor was on the team now, they would be so much worse. You know what I'm saying? So as good as Darren Peterson was in the summer league, as good as someone like Bryce Sensabaugh is, or Kyle Filipkowski, like what are these guys going to look like when they're playing full games on paper? I think Will Hardy's still over there. I think they're going to be a 50-win team this year. And they have space. I think that the odd man out is Jaren Jackson. A lot of people like Jaren Jackson as a player. I think he is such a unique piece. And I don't think he's good, the player for them. I think Jaren Jackson is a poor man's Karl Anthony Towns. Think about it. Like Cat is bigger. He can shoot through better. He's a better defender. And I don't. And yes, Jaren Jackson has a defensive player of the year in his house. Karl Anthony Towns is a better defender than him. I'm sorry, he is. He's a better player, and so I think that Triple J is a poor man's Cat, and he's probably the odd man out on their team. But they're not going to be in 15th this coming year. The team that might be in 15th is the Sacramento Kings, who were 14th last year. They have a lot of pieces that are just kind of juggling up in the air. I think you have to start getting capital back for them. I believe they still have the rights to Domantas Sabonis. Acuff was a good pick for them, but he is going to chuck them shots up. So who can you put around him to get him to understand when it's right to chuck them shots up? You know what I'm saying? I don't see DeRozan on their roster on opening day. I think he gets bought out or traded. So they need a vet for Acuff. They just need to continue to rebuild because they're not going to be they're going to be last place this year for sure. Memphis is probably going to be 14th this year, maybe 12th, but definitely not a playing team. Coward, Boozer, those are some good players. Edie, there's a lot that they can do defensively, but in this league, in an up and down league, they have too many big clunky bodies and they don't have enough 3-point shooting to put up consistent numbers for as good defensively as they're going to be. Are they going to hold teams to 100 even every night? No way in hell. Not in today's NBA. It's just not possible. And like I said, like really, really exciting things you can do with some of those guys, but they're not going to hold teams to a low enough number defensively to accommodate for how little offensive output they can generate. So I think Memphis is going to be pretty low in the standings. Dallas should be high, especially with the return of Kyrie Irving. There's been videos of him working out with Phil Handy, who is his favorite person to work out with, and vice versa. They love each other. And you can tell he's still, I mean, Kyrie Irving is really one of the hardest working basketball players we've ever seen. When it comes to always coming back from an injury as good or as efficient, you haven't seen that. Him and KD stand alone in that. LeBron James had one major injury. It was the whole Solomon Hill thing. And even then, he'll tell you he doesn't have the same burst. And that's not to say he hasn't been efficient. I think he should get some credit for reinventing parts of his game to overcome the fact that he had lost that burst post 35 years old. Look at KD, 27 a game this year. Look at Kyrie after he got injured the first time. This is his second major injury. When he got injured the first time, he came back guns blazing. When he got injured coming out of college, he played 11 games at Duke. And in his first year in the NBA, he averaged 20 a game. There was no drop off at all. So Kyrie is a guy that is a plus player at this point in his life. What happened in Brooklyn was mostly related to off the court stuff, and they were close to the NBA Finals. In Boston, he was feeling himself, and he was in his bad boy era, and he had to figure that stuff out. But the roster still should have went way farther than they went. They had both of the Jays, Gordon Hayward before the injury, Terry Rozier. They should have went farther than they went. I think they had Robert Williams, the early years of Robert Williams. But Dallas is a team that this year with Cooper Flag and a lot of they look so good on paper. I love Max Christie as a wing. I think Klay Thompson still has winning basketball in him, and especially with the low usage. I think Dallas should be 6th or 8th in the standings this year. And then the last team that I'll talk about today is the New Orleans Pelicans. I'm really upset with the Pelicans. I'm really upset with Joe Dumars. I respect Joe Dumars as an executive. I respect Joe Dumars as a basketball player. But what he is doing over there is really confusing. They were fighting to outbid another team for DeAndre Jordan, who is 41 maybe. And they also made sure that he got a 2-year guaranteed contract. So he's on the books for 2 years in a row. That is the only thing that they did this offseason. Many thought that they would trade Zion. Did not happen. Many thought that they would trade Trey Murphy the third, junior. Did not happen. Even the likes of Derek Queen were in some of the trade talks because so many big names like a Giannis, like a Jalen Brown, even like a LeBron were floating around, like a LaMelo were floating around, and nothing came of all of that. I really would have liked the Pelicans to be aggressive and to pursue, and they still can do this, but to pursue a trade to send Zion Williamson to the Charlotte Hornets. The Hornets have some stuff to give back, mostly that they've acquired via getting rid of LaMelo Ball. And I think that you're not gonna like they're not gonna be good this year, the Hornets. The East is stacked again. And so as good as if they play their maximum potential, they're just gonna end up exactly where they were this year in the play-in tournament, probably out of the playoffs. So go get Zion. Go see if it works out. Either Zion or Trey Murphy. I think either one of those guys has a potential build around piece that is that because I'm going to talk about this on a different episode, but a lot of the Jalen Brown saga was related to the Supermax situation. Like, yes, people talked about his character and all of this other stuff. It's about the Supermax. You need a player to either fill the Supermax slot or you need a bunch of players that are signing $150 million plus contracts. That's how you have to do it. And either way, you have to do it in a way where you can avoid the second apron. New Orleans right now, if they go into the next year and they played a full year and it's a successful year, they're going to be ninth at best, you know, in the standings, and they're still going to have to pay Trey Murphy, Zion, and then someone's going to emerge on their team. They traded for Poole and it didn't really work out. Like they're a weird team. They're a really weird team. But I like to watch them and I like to watch Derek Queen and I like to watch Jeremiah Fears. Like they need to make a move and they need to make it now. So I think getting rid of there's still time. I think getting rid of one of Zion or Trey Murphy and getting something back, I think Charlotte would be very happy to look at those guys. The Raptors are going through it right now with the whole NBA, looking into the Kawhi stuff with the cap circumvention. So maybe not them, but I also think that is a possibility. Like a team, a fringe team that either could look at that player that they trade for as like, oh, we have them and now we're good, or a team that kind of has not too much to lose, like Charlotte, and it's just like, let's see. Think about that: Zion, Knipple, Brandon Miller. You get a point guard. Uh, what's the name? They got Kobe White that they're high on, but you get a real point guard. Sorry, Kobe White. He's more of a two to me in today's NBA, but you get a point guard and they're starting to get some bigs down there. Liam McNeely is coming into his own. I think Kalkbrenner steps up a little bit this year. So Charlotte can look good, but I think that Charlotte and New Orleans, I think that they're going to be connected in a little trade action. We'll see. We'll see. Vamos a ver. Pero that's 5 teams, my bottom 5 in the uh, Western Conference. We're going to pick up next episode with 10 through 6 in that conference. And we'll talk about Braun going to Philly because I still cannot believe LeBron James is going to Philadelphia. That's still crazy to me as a New York guy. Still crazy to me. Appreciate you rocking with us. This is episode 36 of In the AM with MC. Goodbye.